My name is Myrna Hayes, and I have been on Mare Island as a volunteer since April 12, 1994. More than 23 years I've served as the community co-chair of the Restoration Advisory Board for Mare Island Naval Shipyard. Kind of a long title. Our purpose is to work with the Navy and the state and federal regulators and other members of the community to help ensure that the, and there's more in that box there, that the base environmental cleanup is completed in a way that works for the community, works for the Navy, and for the state and federal regulators. And remember, environmental cleanup makes reuse possible. So because this part of the island was cleaned up sufficiently and inspected enough, it was transferred to the city of Vallejo in 2002. In 2008, we opened this park to the public for the first time, April 12, again, 2008. And we were open just one day a month. And now we're open every Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and the holidays. So if you can imagine this, the public had never been to this cemetery before April of 2008. Actually, they had. We held the 150th anniversary of the Naval Ammunition Depot in August of 2007. That was the first time the public was really able to come here. Fast forward to today. Well, actually, the reason we opened this park was the inspiration of a man named Raymond Anderson, who served on the fast attack vessel, the Boston, the USS Boston, a submarine. And he came here to pay his respects in March of 2008, and he found a closed gate. He found no one in the town, no one, from the police department to the fire department to the gas station attendant to the security guard, who knew where the Mare Island Naval Cemetery was. He had driven 500 extra miles from Carpinteria on his 6,500-mile journey from Michigan to Florida to Texas to California, visiting friends after he'd retired and fellow shipmates. And he found this gate locked. And we made sure, we promised him in the year that we knew him before he passed away, that would never happen again, that the public would always have the opportunity to come pay their respects here in this magnificent, beautiful naval cemetery, the oldest in the Pacific. And we've kept our word. Brian Collett is on my board, the Mare Island Heritage Trust, with me and other board members. He's here today from Sacramento. And so today brings us to another Boston. There were 7 Bostons in the fleet, and we're honoring 15 members of the crew of the Boston that was also called the U.S. Steel Boston, the USS Protected Cruiser Boston, or the USS or Steel Cruiser Boston. These were more armament or thicker decking and steel than previous ships. They were also referred to as a group of new class of ships called the Squadron of Evolution. The Boston spent quite a bit of time in the Pacific. It fought in the Battle of Manila Bay. It was the vessel that brought in the U.S. representatives who took Hawaii from the Hawaiian people. It saw a lot of service. It was participated in assistance to San Franciscans in the San Francisco earthquake, and it was in dry dock for repairs. And you know, you had a lot of sailors with not a whole lot to do, and so the commander the captain put those sailors to work in various capacities in the shipyard, and this particular group was put to work with their chief gunner and a couple of gunner's mates They were ordinary seamen and landsmen. They were put to work after about a week of training, as far as we know. This was 125 years ago. They were put to work at Building 2. You can still see Building 2 today on a walk just past the cemetery, a short distance, and then looking down towards the water's edge. You'll see the first building, Building 1, and then 2 is going to be just to the right of that building below you. And you see it depicted in these programs that I've put together for you. Nobody knows what happened. There is one account that it's possible that they were tamping. They had a funnel. They were filling 6-inch rounds and 8-inch rounds. There was a small funnel and a piece of copper that would help that black powder flow easily into the funnel. So there's some speculation on the part of surviving ammunition depot staff that there could have been a little bit too much aggressiveness in pounding that. Somehow or another, something set off an explosion that instantly killed 13 of those 15. And then the other 2, this is gruesome, were skinned alive, and their bodies were found 200 yards down the beach. And all they did from that moment on till they died 24 hours later, of course, was to beg to be, put out in the ocean to bay to drown, or somehow otherwise be euthanized. And it was all the doctor could do to wrap them in olive oil and gauze and wait for that inevitability. So it was so shocking, so upsetting to their shipmates that they vowed at the moment of their burial in June 14, 1892, a group of them got together and they promised each other, they agreed that they would build a suitable monument to forever honor their shipmates. So it was unveiled in a ceremony on August 1st, 1892. So what we've done today is we've been lucky enough, you'll see from your program, to find the 1892 program. We have veiled the monument for the dedication as they did, though they used an American flag. And in many ways, we've used the same program that we had that was there, that they used that day. What's different is there was 1,000-man procession from the commander's house on the shipyard to the cemetery, and they surrounded this area in a square, a hollow square it's described as, and you'll see a small image of that in your program. And the procession was led by the Navy band, and it participated in the service, as you'll see in the original program. So today, without any further introduction, I'd like to start our program with an invitation for the presentation of colors by the Travis Air Force Base Honor Guard, which we're very honored to have with us today.
Correct shoulder. Punch.
In the 1892 service, the Navy Yard Band played an overture that opened the service with the song Nearer My God to Thee, and I've asked my friend Gregory Whitfield to sing that song today. We don't have a Navy Yard Band any longer here at Mare Island. Thank you, Gregory.
Please have a seat.
Sure what the words of the prayer were from 1892, and not so much of a church-going person now. I think my brother and I spent a lot of time in church early on, and so this beautiful park has become my church. And I thought of a prayer that means so much to me. my inspiration every day that we have this park open for the last 10 years. I had the privilege of knowing the late chaplain John W. Berger, retired by then, on the 150th anniversary of the Naval Ammunition Depot that I mentioned earlier. He gave this prayer. So I think it's fitting for this service as well. Maybe not a traditional prayer for a military service, but it definitely captures the feel of this special place. He said it this way: God, we pause to visualize this island in your yesterday, when you first planned it, trees and grasses, hillocks and swales, tidal waters and marshes, the call of the birds, beasts and many creatures, a pastoral scene which made the place so very pleasing to the mind and eye. We give you thanks for such a land as this. Today, we are made aware of the making of a new day. It would seem to me that the mission of yesterday would merge with that pastoral delight created by you into a new day fit for your blessing and for our tomorrows. But let us not forget to remember the lives and dreams and hopes of those who lived and labored here. And on today, we remember and we say a prayer for those who not only labored here, but gave their lives here in the Naval Ammunition Depot here at Mare Island. At this time in the program, I usually have a small, I've done this program before, 5 years ago. And we did it 10 years ago. We usually have a small card that we hand you, and you go and find that person's grave site, and you call their name and their age. I didn't make those cards, but if you're courageous enough to stand up and walk over to one of these grave sites, and you wouldn't mind just turning and looking at the name and calling the name and their age, I think it would be wonderful for us to share with you that experience. So there are 12 graves here. There are 2 right over there, and there's one up here. I just invite you to go to one of those grave sites and just informally go ahead, go and find a grave site, the person's name, and we'll just listen quietly while you call their name and their age. And because it isn't listed on their gravestone, you're not going to know their rank. But I could probably help you out if I can find one of the other programs. Maybe we can do that. Anyone that has a flag on it.
C.W. Smith, age 23.
Don Johnson, age 30. William Ostrander, 19 years old.
John H. Colton, age 21. Anton Petzel, 21 years old.
Richard Weinke, 32 years, 5 months.
This is Henry Juice, J-O-O-S, no H, he's a student apprentice.
William Bush, 21 years, 3 months.
John H. Alton, 21 years. C.W. Smith, 23 years, 3 months.
We've done all of them? We've done all of them?
Have we, has everyone been, I'll just make sure that everybody's name has been called. We did have George Hittinger. That one, is that George Hittinger? Yeah, sorry. We're gonna find him here. Did we call Frank Legat?
Right here, Frank Legat, 34 years, 11 months.
And John Johnson? Yeah, we did, yeah. Anton Colton, William Heckel, did we call his name?
Yes.
Okay, all right, and John Briscoe, we did. All right, that's all 15 men. Thank you very much. Dr. Schneider, do I see him? No? No. All right, well, this is a little bit long, but, and you're welcome to read with me. But I was so touched by this oration that I felt that we could take the time to reread this oration by Lieutenant Lucian Young, U.S. Navy. He gave this by starting out, shipmates, ladies, and gentlemen. One of the most lovely traits of the human heart is the love of man bears for his fellow being. In conformity with that natural law, we are gathered here to do honor to our dead comrades who were taken away from us on that fateful 13th of June without warning and without premonition, and to perpetuate their memories by the unveiling of this beautiful monument erected by the officers and crew of the United States cruiser Boston. The profession of a sailor or a soldier has always been one of honor and responsibility. It was an ancient law of classical Greece that he who threw away his buckler or deserted the ranks was branded as a felon, and forever after deprived of his citizenship. When he lost his life in a performance of duty, it has been the custom from the earliest periods of authentic history to treat his dead body with the most profound respect. Even in nations unblessed by the education of a civilized race, his body was carefully laid away in all martial glory with the implements of warfare about him, and his memory preserved not only by some elaborate mausoleum, but by a fully prepared epitome of his military deeds intended to outlive the periods of time or form the main theme of history of the common. I think there's some sort of typo there. Okay. I jumbled it. All right. So, at the present, the voice of war is still, and the march of armed troops or the echoes of a ship's battery that spoke of death and woke the slumbers of night are but war pageants of the past, save in the holiday pomp of the untried youth or the rigid youths. Of valor and heroism are performed in times of peace as well as in times of war. And though our shipmates lost their lives, not in the clash of arms or the din of battle, They nevertheless died while in the performance of a dangerous duty. And when that sad procession on the 14th of June laid away all that was mortal of the victims of the unfortunate explosion, they made these 15 graves as consecrated as the sacred mounds of Gettysburg or Chickamauga. These men were an honor to their ship and the service, and their loss is deeply felt, but we should not forget that while we mourn their fate, there is in the distant east some lonely home in which an aged mother weeps for an only son, or a devoted wife is grieving for the absence of all that was near and dear. The unavailing grief of an affectionate brother, a tender sister, or the darkness in which the bright prospects of a loving sweetheart have been suddenly engulfed by the dread messenger of death, through a call into eternity given in the midst of health, of gaiety, and of brightest hopes. And were it not for that promise made nearly 1900 years ago, in which he said, "I am the resurrection and the life," all the rest of existence on earth would be but a period of grief and pain. We loved them so that by the unveiling of that monument to the breezes of heaven, now that today, and overlooking the entrance to the harbor and the place from which they were called into eternity, we would record to the world a mark of our brotherly love, while their memories have been grafted in the hearts of every American sailor, a mausoleum not of ephemeral greatness, but of the adamantine durability that will outlive the Parthenon of ages to come. The crew of the Boston is but a small element of our great naval family, and the love we bore for our dead comrades was equally shared by all the officers, their wives, and the men of the Navy Yard. All these put forth their strong arm and assistance upon the first alarm on that fatal day. When the last sad rites were performed, they attested their sympathy and sorrow by a full attendance, and the magnificent floral offerings from the ladies of the yard made easier the mournful task we had to perform. Now that we are soon to sail whither no one knows and may never to return, we feel doubly assured that in their keeping or in that of their successors, these precious mounds will never be neglected, nor this beautiful tribute to the memory of our unfortunate shipmates be permitted to suffer from the hands of vandalism. Then, lest this moment be uncovered to the rays of yon setting sun and permitted to kiss the breezes of the grand old ocean, while the rippling waters on the beach shall sound their silent requiem till the final judgment day. On behalf of the officers and crew of the cruiser Boston, I have now the honor to transfer the monument into the keeping of the Commandant, officers, their wives, and the enlisted men of the Mare Island Navy Yard, or other of our official families, a charge full of care and responsibility. In the original service at that moment, the cords were pulled on the veil of American flags, and the monument was unveiled. In this program today, I've invited our Vice Mayor, Robert Hale McConnell, to give the City of Vallejo's proclamation that was presented by the mayor and the full city council of the City of Vallejo before we do the unveiling of the monument and before taps is played. So, Vice Mayor McConnell, thank you so much. Very long time friend.
Thank you, Berta. And I would actually be very remiss if I did not point out to all of you here that were it not for Myrna Hayes and the Mare Island Historical Foundation, none of us would be here. None of us would have this privilege. None of us would have this testimony to the bravery of men throughout our country. And for people like Myrna, I say thank you indeed, because you have done a tremendous job. Whereas today, June 11, 2017, commemorates the 125th anniversary of the USS Boston powder magazine explosion that killed 15 U.S. Navy sailors on June 13, 1892. And whereas between June 5, 1892 and July 9, 1917, 3 explosions occurred on Mare Island that killed more than 40 individuals and injured dozens more. And whereas the first blast occurred at 11:30 a.m. on June 13, 1892, at an ammunition depot located approximately 1.5 miles south of the USS Boston, as crews were transporting powder and projectiles to the vessels. And whereas 15 members of the USS Boston's crew were killed in the explosion. And whereas on June 5, 1901, a second explosion occurred in the Mare Island storage magazine known as Building A1 after 300 tons of black powder ignited, killing 21 U.S. sailors. And whereas on July 9, 1917, a blast believed to have been detonated by an enemy agent killed a U.S. Navy chief, his wife, and their 2 daughters at the Mare Island Naval Ammunition Depot. And whereas these national heroes have been interred here at the Mare Island Naval Cemetery with full military army. And now therefore be resolved that Bob Simpion, Mayor of the City of Vallejo, and the Vallejo City Council hereby commemorate today, June 11, 2017, as the 125th anniversary of these tragic events. Myrna, let me present this to you because I believe this property belongs with the Historical Foundation. Thank you so much for all that you've done.
So we've reached another point where I'd like to invite you. There are no little girls named Miss Maxim and Miss Lewis here today, are there? They were here in 1892. I suspect their Miss Lewis's father, at least, might have been the chaplain you see in the program, Chaplain Lewis. Dr. Lewis was also the first Navy officer, and the first actually medical officer to respond to the explosion, and was aided in. And she could have been his daughter as well. He was aided in getting to the explosion site quickly by a young woman named Bessie McDougall. And Dr. Lewis is buried in the cemetery here. Kate McDougall and Charles McDougall, Bessie's parents, are buried here in the cemetery up on the hill. So not only are we honoring these young men today, but also many of those who came to their aid are here close by with us today as well. So since we don't have those young girls, I was wondering if 3 of you who didn't call names might be willing to come up and pull cords that we have here on the veil and help us unveil this monument as it was unveiled that first day that it was presented, that it was dedicated in 1892. I'll help you, or my brother will help you. You're not alone. Come up, maybe 3 of you. I've got 3 cords to pull. What you do is you pull them and then you kind of let them loose because they're. See how that works, huh? Yeah. we made sure that this Mare Island wind didn't take these off. We have it tied right here. Isn't that exciting? There's just something so special about having you all be a part of this service after I've thought about it for months and worked on it this last week a lot, and just want to acknowledge that so many of our friends here today who just pitched in and raked leaves and weeded and put up the flags. The flags are from the USS Boston Shipmates group, and they also gave us that nice holder that has the USS Boston Shipmates emblem on it. And want to thank even B&B Floral who made the nice banner that we had on the veil. Linda, these are her curtains that she didn't have in use, so we helped, and she helped put it together. So it's just labor of love. So I think it's always fun when you get to participate in a service and not be just a spectator. We're short on Navy buglers as well around here nowadays. The Navy left in 1996, and I can't say that they had a bugler even then on the yard. It was primarily a civilian yard, and I want to thank all of the civilian employees and former Navy, as well as all the veterans today. Vice Mayor McConnell is a veteran, and I know many, many people are. Here we have gentlemen from the Navy, from the Canadian Legion Society. I didn't get that right. Royal Canadian Legion Society. No, just Legion. In uniform. I bungled this summer. So just thank you again. And to our photographers who are recording this event for others who couldn't be here. So at this time, my bugler stand-in is Barbara Morris, a volunteer here at the Mare Island Shoreline Heritage Preserve for years. And she's provided the music at our Lost Boats Memorial and played taps there many times. We've done that service for 10 years now. And Barbara has a special tie to Mare Island. Her father was a lieutenant here, and Barbara lived here while he was with him, and her mom and sister while he was stationed here. And she's very proud of her Mare Island naval heritage, and we're very honored to have her perform taps to close our program.